Greetings out there. This is David Duford here at Final Expense Agent Mentor at theagentmentor.com, and today we are continuing our interview series with top producing agents and agencies. Today I'm going to be interviewing founder and principal of Ward Services Incorporated, Mr. Jim Ward. I'll tell you a little bit about Jim Ward. He is again, founder and principal of Ward Services, which is a family-run national insurance agency that helps small and large employers with their insurance benefits. Jim, a little bit about Jim, started as a life insurance agent way back in the day in 1977, eventually getting into the payroll deduction business in 1980. And here's some amazing stats here for you guys. You may want to listen to this very closely. As of 2017, Ward Services Incorporated has worked with over 220 enrollers nationally, and this year alone, and we were talking back and forth with production, this is what I would deem a conservative estimate. His business has written in excess of $10 million in production as of 2017 alone through the combined efforts of his enrollers and the people that work in his organization. So without further ado, here's Jim, and Jim, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, you're welcome. Looking forward to the conversation.
Me too. And again, thank you so much for joining. So let's go back to yesteryear, Jim, and kind of talk about how you got involved in the insurance business, and tell us a little bit about your background in getting there.
Well, the quick and easy one is I suddenly got out of the Army. I got a medical discharge after 3 years. I had a 5-year commitment after finishing college, and I had a military commitment. I went to the U.S. Military Academy at West Point, and you have a 5-year commitment. I had a medical problem and was discharged after 3 years, and had a wife and 3 kids, and was looking for something to do, and a local agent here in Columbia offered me something really good, where I was able to work with the South Carolina Deferred Compensation Program, a state-sponsored plan, and I basically was on commission but had no competition, so it was a fabulous job. Anyway, that's how I really got started in the business. I got asked by someone with an insurance company if I'd be interested in payroll deduction a few years later, and even though that was a great job I had, I wanted to get into something where I was in control and I was my own boss, and that's what I saw when I saw the opportunity to get into payroll deduction, which I did maybe, 3 years after I got started in the deferred comp program. So that's kind of how I got started in the insurance business.
So what exactly attracted you to selling insurance to begin with? Were you, did you come into it because you knew people in the business? Were you just out of luck finding other work like I was? Or how did you actually decide that insurance was the direction with your career you wanted to go?
Well, I've always been, since I got in the Army, I was an athlete in college, and I've always been very athletic, and I took up the sport handball and got to know guys here in town that played, and one of them was an insurance agent here in town who, when I got discharged, asked me if I'd be interested in working with him. I had a wife and 3 kids, and didn't want to go through the process of going around the country interviewing with large companies. So I went ahead and took the opportunity. It actually doesn't sound very sexy at all, I know, but that's basically how I got in the insurance business. Is one of my handball buddies said, would you be interested in getting into insurance? And I was always very math-oriented, and it just seemed like a good opportunity to me, and I'm really thrilled looking back on it that I did it.
Right. So as you described earlier, your main business role now is, or I should say the main insurance line you're in now, is voluntary payroll deduct business. I was hoping you could kind of give us a basic explanation for those people listening to the interview about how the voluntary payroll deduct business works, so they just have a more or less basic understanding.
Okay. Well, it's It's you don't sell policies to people directly. You work through their employers, and it's offered on payroll deduction by the employer to the employees. And so really a lot of it has to do just with convenience and ease of being able to purchase the coverage, not have to set up a bank draft or get quarterly or annual payments. It's all done for you. It's just very easy. And there's also a really important part to it is it's typically, depending on the size of the company, it's offered on a guaranteed issue basis the first time each employee is offered the program. So you've got, employees and spouses actually too that will have medical issues or different problems, and they're able to get up to a certain limit of amount of coverage or a weekly premium, a guaranteed issue. So it's just a lot of ease of being able to purchase the coverage and then how to pay for it as well, where you don't have to set it up on bank draft or get letters in the mail, that kind of thing. So I think the ease and convenience of it has a lot to do with why it's been so successful the last 30 years. Because really when I first started, it wasn't really that big a deal, but it's really grown over the last 30 years.
Yeah, I would assume there's some, as a final expense agent, we go into homes, we sell people a burial insurance policy. It's all retail or at the kitchen table, but then as I understand, maybe you could explain this a little bit, whereas the employer or the voluntary payroll deduct market has been enormous in its growth because there's this presumed, setup that you buy your insurance through your employer. There's this implied third-party validation, endorsement, if you will. And it's very convenient. I would imagine, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, that the growth in the VPD market has just been extremely substantial over the past 30 years since you started, right?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, it's been exponential, the growth in the business. There were just not that many companies even in the business, insurance companies, when I first started, and not that many people that involved in it. It's now a pretty big portion. Again, I don't know any of the actual numbers, but it's a pretty big piece of the business. And for me, having been an individual agent, you have a week where, at least back in the day, 2 people bought life insurance from you. Gee, that was a good week. Well, we now have, a couple hundred people that work for us, and in the fall when we're really busy, there's a 6-week period of time, and we're writing, 4,000 policies a week.
Wow.
Well, taking 4,000 applications a week, during the really busy time. So, and again, some of these numbers I may be low or high, but actually I think that one's probably a low estimate of what we're doing. So
you mentioned some of the benefits with voluntary payroll deduct, guaranteed issue. You can help people who have pre-existing conditions that would otherwise prevent them from getting fully underwritten coverage. What do you think some of the drawbacks are to the business? Because as you know, there's no perfect life insurance or insurance route. There's always going to be challenges and good things. What are some of the kind of things you tell a new agent to expect that may not necessarily be so, maybe challenges that they're going to have to deal with when selling voluntary payroll deduct?
Well, it's going to take time. It's like anything, but even more so. An individual sale, you're going to go in, see the person, and probably get a yes, and certainly you're going to get a yes or a no, and if it's a maybe, you're probably going to follow up in a couple of days. Whereas with this kind of thing, you're working with corporate customers, and ultimately the employees are the customer of the policy, but we're actually providing services. Like we help companies with communicating their all the benefits that they offer to their employees, and then helping the employees make the choices on what kind of medical plan they're going to take, what they're going to do with different options within their benefit program, how much they're going to put into their retirement plan, all those kind of things. And this is an additional service we provide, and then we actually help them get enrolled in all those products and programs. And we don't charge a fee to do that. We just offer voluntary insurance plans as our means of getting paid. So it's we're helping them, we're helping the employees, and then by helping the employees purchase voluntary life insurance with long-term care, which is really the biggest product in our marketplace.
Right.
Short-term disability, accident coverage, critical illness, those kind of things are the things that we're offering. And we have to do a real balancing act there because we're there to help the employer, help the employees understand their benefits and get it right. We can't be overselling our products and programs to the employees. We've got to be helping them buy what they want, what they need, and what they're going to keep. And that's actually the real kind of magic of what we do is I'd say we do as a company a very good job of not overselling, making sure that our counselors are helping the employees purchase programs that they really want and need, not, again, overselling. And in fact, all of our counselors are on salary. There's nobody getting paid. Well, I take that back. We've got 4 or 5 of them that work for us year-round in the public school system here, and they're on a salary, but they do also get something because, again, they're working in these school districts all the time, helping new hires get enrolled. But that is the only exception to the rule that our counselors are all on salary, no kind of commission paid, because we don't want to have any emphasis where it's creating motivation for our people to be overselling to the customer.
Right. No, it makes sense because it kind of leads me to my next question, Jim. Us retail agents, us, where we work with mom and pop across the kitchen table, it's a one-call close in many circumstances. You find the need and then you sell the product in yourself, and you either make the sale or you don't. Whereas I can imagine the situation you're in is totally different. There's multiple players. You have to sell certain people in the organization, but you also have to keep the employees happy. And so, because they'll tell on you if the agent push too hard, like you said, and cause problems. So what I was hoping you could kind of describe again is thinking of the agent who has no experience in this particular market. How is the sales process different than, say, a face-to-face direct with the person who's going to buy it and pay for it? What's the time and length it is to get an account sold? What's the turnaround time to get paid? Who do you have to be concerned with when sealing a deal with one of these large organizations?
Really, it can take years to close a deal. And I can give you a first-hand case. A fellow that works with me in marketing and sales. He helps us with a lot of our marketing stuff, but he's a guy that I know through where I went to college. We both played football there. He was about 20 years behind me, but he helps us with communication. Well, he's got a very good friend who's the HR head of HR for a very, very large retail organization in the Southeast with about 10,000 employees. We have met with that fellow a couple times. It's been well over a year now. We just went back down there, and it looks like that they're going to go forward at least with a test case on their distribution center. It's, again, a retail organization.
Sure.
But, that's the kind of thing where we've been talking with them, and I haven't really, but a couple times, but the other fellow, Frank's, been in communication with them for well over a year. And that's really, I think, the real key to success in this. You just have to be patient. You can't be in a hurry to make sales because they don't happen fast. I mean, it takes time. Yeah,
no, that's certainly true. I'd imagine in most business-to-business setups where there's service and in a time horizon. My father sold chemicals, and it would take him years to get in and potentially sell the deal because there's contracts that are involved, and it takes time to sell people because it's a big decision, to
right.
move over from one place to another. It can be inconvenient when you're comfortable with someone. So let me ask you this, Jim. So I'm curious to know the difference from where you started anew by yourself in payroll deduct to where you are now. How would you describe your ideal target client? If you could envision, who it is that you want to do business with today, and then even when you first started, if it is all different, where are they? What problems are they experiencing? And are they big? Are they small? That kind of question. Yeah.
Of course, the more employees an employer has, the better the opportunity, because that's what we're talking about. A 10,000 life group has got 10,000 potential people to buy programs. A 100 life group has 100 people, and so, I sell 10% of 10,000, I've got 1,000. I sell 70% of 100, I've only got 70. So, size certainly has something to do with it. But I found the best customers are the ones that have multiple locations that are spread out. The more challenge they have with their communication with their employees, the better the opportunity, because that's basically what we're selling is we can... What's that there?
Go ahead, I'm sorry. Got to mute the phone here. Apologies.
Okay. Anyway, the more spread out they are, the more challenging it is to communicate with them. So therefore, we can help them with that challenge because we can send people out. Our couple of our biggest customers, one is a very large grocery chain in Arizona. They're all over Arizona and have a couple locations in New Mexico. Well, they can't really go out to every one of their locations to talk to all their employees face to face. So we do this in the spring because their renewals on all their benefits starts in July 1st. Every spring we go out to every single one of their locations and meet with as many employees that want to meet with us to talk about their benefits and get questions answered and make decisions in regard to what they're going to do for the coming year. That's just an ideal customer. They are fantastic to work with. They also think that we're fantastic and do a great job for them because we've been going to their stores for 15 years. And our counselors we send the same group. In fact, last year, I think we sent 14 or 15 reps, and one of them had not worked there for 5 years or more. The other 14 or 13, whatever the number was, had worked with us, with that customer, for 5 or more years. And we send them back to the same locations, so literally they're in a situation where Joe is going back to see Mr. Smith, the store manager of store number 6, and they know each other because he's been going there for 10 years. And the employees know him, and he's developed relationships and friends, and it's just those kind of cases are great because it's just a great relationship. And again, the key to that is, sure, we know we got to sell things and have the employees purchase things, but it's been done in a way that it's positive for the store manager in particular. He loves us because all his employees are finding out about all their benefits, and if they got questions, they know they can talk to Mary or Bill, and they'll be able to answer the questions and help them with it. And then we get paid for offering life insurance with long-term care, short-term disability, critical illness. Accident insurance is just supplements to their basic benefit plan. So, but again, you got to be patient with this. It can't be, we got to do it all. We're going to sell it. And I know some agencies or firms like us that take that approach. And, they may write a whole bunch of business the first year, but they don't have very good reputation in the industry. And I've seen where they They have customers just turn over on them constantly, and that's really not a good way to be running a good business. You want to build it where you build it, and it slowly but surely grows.
You get those clients and you keep them, just like you described with your grocery chain. I mean, 15 years, there's a reason why they stick around. It's because you do a good job, and obviously they like the reps that come out and see them, and you don't take them for granted, because if like these other agencies do, I imagine if they start to disappoint the employers, that's where you come in and you take that business from them. And, it's just like any other business. There's competition, and you've got to love your customers to death, because they're the ones that put food on your table and give you a nice lifestyle. So next thing I want to ask you, if we go back to as you got into this business, so you made a few comments how much this business of voluntary payroll deduct has changed, that 30, 40 years ago is completely different. If you could, Jim, take us through how your business in voluntary payroll deduct first started, and then how it grew to where it is now, where you're servicing these very large organizations. Kind of take us through this process of growth that you experienced and how you did it.
Okay. Well, it's really just been a natural process. It wasn't like some grand plan that I came up with. Actually, the fundamentals of it as well, I didn't really plan it this way. I never expected my wife to be really running all the finances. I mean, frankly, I got to tell you, well, because you've been around.
Right.
She runs the company. I don't run the company anymore. I'm still, quote, in charge, but I'm not really, because she's really running the business. She oversees all the money and makes sure that it's coming in from where it's supposed to come in from, and that we're paying all the people and organizations, and that everything gets paid. I've got two sons now that were not in the business with me originally. They were in college, high school and college actually, when I first got started in the business, and they're both very involved. Jeff, our oldest, runs the operations of the company. He oversees everything going on here in the corporate offices. We got about 20 to 20, again, not precise, but I'd say about 20 employees here in the corporate office, along with the 200 and some that are out seeing people. And he oversees the offices here and manages the enrollments as they're going on, and the interaction with the insurance companies. So, it's been I don't know that I really answered your question very well, but it's been just a internal growth of our company where all of us, except for my daughter who lives up in New York City, everybody's involved. And the really good part I feel good about is I don't have to worry about loyalty. I mean, I've got a wife and two sons. The second son runs his own company, but he actually handles our smaller cases for us. He and his mother work out how the money is split up between him and us. So he'll do his own stuff, but he probably does just as much with taking cases that are smaller for us, and he will then enroll them. Like I said, he and his mother work out how the money gets split up. Again, I'm not sure I kind of got off on that I gave you a very good answer, but that's it.
Well, so basically what you're telling me, Jim, is that old adage of hard work and elbow grease. No magic pills or potions or secret weapons. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Yeah, I just put my head down and went forward. So, and it's
no
well,
easy buttons. I got, huh?
Yeah.
And that's so commonly how it is, right? I mean, certainly, I'm sure you've gone through ups and downs in your career. We all do, especially those who are very successful, and there's a pattern of just sticking to their dreams, right? People who are successful, they have
I would say very much so in the first few years, and probably I'd say 10 to 15 years. After that, really, it's just been a kind of a natural process. And then in the last 5 years, we've just seen a little bit of kind of exponential growth. We have an agent we work with here in South Carolina, and again, I'm not going to pronounce his name or anything, but he has worked with us on the South Carolina school systems, which is our biggest customer. And we started with one local school district back in 2001. And today we've got 33 or 34 school districts and 65,000 employees out of the 75,000 employees in the system here in the state. And they are truly our biggest customer. Now, again, it's 30-some different employers, but they're all in the same business. They all have the same benefits. So it's really worked out really nice for us because it doesn't matter if it's School District 1 or School District 10, they all have the same benefits.
Right.
So we're able to do that, and it's all done through the same system and processes and electronic enrollment and all that. It's all the same for everybody. And we've actually, in the last few years, picked up some cities and counties and state agencies as well. So even though grocery was our original targeted market, and we're still in that, the school districts and cities, counties, and state government here in South Carolina has just been, phenomenal. A lot of it has to do with this partner we've got who started with the one school district, and we've built that with him, and then we've gotten involved in some other things as well here. So, but again, all that started as one school district. We did the good job for them. We then went to the other local school district. There's 2 school districts here in Richland County. We started with Richland 1, then Richland 2, and just built over time, and there was no plan that, this is what we're going to do, but that's just how it's worked out.
Was there a point in time in the earlier years or the midpoint of your career that you had something that happened that really elevated you to the next level? Was there a large customer that you acquired that really took your company to the next level? Is there anything like that occurred?
Well, yes. When we first started, we got an opportunity. I went to work with an agency. Again, I was working deferred comp here, but I decided to get into worksite, so I got a list from this insurance company. I got a list of the agents that worked in medical and property and casualty in the state. So I would drive around the state for 3 days a week and 2 days a week work at my deferred comp job. And 3 days a week I drove around and talked to these agents, and I started getting some business from them, and I would do the enrollments, or me and another person or two would do the enrollments, and because it was all really small stuff at that time. But we got the opportunity to work with a pretty big agency down in Charleston, and they happened to have Piggly Wiggly Carolina, which was all the Piggly Wigglies in South Carolina was a customer of theirs. So that was really kind of our breaking point, where we broke into the grocery industry and had a really nice big customer who was locally owned around the state, and that really went well. And again, grocery employees are ideal employees for us to help the employer, help the employees, and then help the employees with their voluntary insurance as well. And that went well. And Food Lion was a really big grocery chain. They were up in North Carolina. I got the opportunity. Well, I didn't get the opportunity. I just called up there and got an appointment with the HR person there, who's one of the most delightful and just terrific people I've ever met in my life. And we developed a relationship, and we started going around to all the Food Lion stores in the Southeast. And that was our huge customer to begin with. And I couldn't tell you how many employees they had, but they had a lot of stores and a lot of employees that wanted help. And back then we weren't helping with open enrollment. It was just voluntary insurance plans. So we were just a vendor selling a product then. We weren't even providing any value-added services. I think we got started a couple years into it. We started doing benefit statements for the employer's employees, which is also something I still today really think is valuable service. And if we try to start a new relationship, that's my favorite way to try to start it, with with a prospective customer is we'll do a benefit statement for you and for your employees, and we'll show your employees that they're not making $40,000 a year. They're making $60 when you count how much you're paying extra for all of their benefits, because that's pretty much someone making $40,000 is really the employer spending $50,000 to $60,000 and maybe even more than that on them with all the different benefits that, you know, isn't coming out of their paycheck. It's just benefits that they're receiving through their employer.
I see. So one question I've been asking Jim, pretty much, I do a lot of these interviews, as you know, and all you hear about in the news is how in 20 years, automation, robots is going to eliminate 70% of the jobs, and nobody's going to work anymore. Everybody's just lay around and collect a check. And I'm curious, when it comes down to insurance, and specifically your line of work, where do you think the business in general is going to go next 10 or 20 years when we think about things like automation, technology? Do you think the process in selling insurance to via employers is going to be exactly the same, or do you see things changing? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's funny you bring that up because I'm very non-techie. I'm not very good and have to really defer because we have gone from, you know, back when we first started, we took paper applications and submitted the paper apps and everything took weeks and all that. Nowadays, our counselors, if I was a counselor today, because I originally did the enrollments with these, you know, employers that I did 35, 30 years ago, I couldn't do it today because, you know, you got to be able to get on the computer and get it up and you go into the system and you don't take any applications or any information from employees with paper. It's all done on the computer with the counselor. They're signing them up for whatever they're doing with their core benefits, or if we're helping with their 401k or 403b, that's all done online. And then even the voluntary applications are now done all electronically. So it's just a whole different world, but, you know, it seems to be working out well. We have a fellow here who's just a great employee who was in charge of the state's electronic enrollment system, and he got to retirement age and he wanted to retire, and somebody told him about us, I guess. I don't really know how he came about coming over here, but we talked to him and we hired him, and he's just been a fantastic asset to our company because he, you know, knows all the technology stuff and what to do. And nowadays you have to be with it from a technology standpoint, and you're just going to get nowhere in our business. Because
do you see the nature of how you write enrollment business changing? Is people or agents still going to be the core requirement of this, to go out to see the people at their area of employment, or do you see even computerized technology eliminating them? Any thoughts on that?
Well, I think a lot of people in our industry are really scared of that, and actually there's a company, and I forget its name, that they do everything just online. It's all done online, and you can sign up for your benefits online, and you can buy the voluntary plans online, and everything's online. And that's certainly a direction that, you know, there are a lot of large companies that's how they do things. Do I think that it's going to impact us? It's already impacted us as far as employers deciding that they'll just all do it. Nobody has to talk to anybody. Just go online. You can educate yourself. You can get yourself signed up. But I think there's an awful lot of people also realize that, you know, many people don't want to have to try to go online and figure out everything and, okay, let me see, I got to sign up for all my different benefits, and I got to go through the technology, and then I got to read everything and understand, how my disability works and how my long-term disability works and all that kind of stuff. And that's just that's the solution that we're providing, is helping the employers help their employees understand their benefits. So is it a concern? Yes. Has it really had any impact on us? I'm sure it probably has. We probably do more business, I guess, but actually then think about it. If we didn't have the technology, we wouldn't have the streamlined aspects of what we're doing and be able to do it as quickly and easily as we're doing. So even if we had more opportunity, we'd have less business because it takes so much longer. So, it's
double-edged sword.
Life. Yeah, it's just, that's part of the deal. You definitely got to be into technology because, everything is being done on computers. We don't use them for applications.
I think the one thing with insurance in general, if you look at some studies done, it's not like selling a car. I think most people can look at used cars. No offense, by the way, to our car salesman brethren. But most people look at a car salesman as an impediment to buying and can see and conceive of ways to do it without them. I don't think that's the case with selling or buying insurance. In fact, I would wager that, yes, there's some that don't want to deal with an insurance agent, sure. And they probably got a reason why, bad service, bad product. But a lot of people do want the assistance of an agent. And I think where that comes down to is that it's just like you said, you have to figure out a way to differentiate yourself. Obviously, you guys emphasize the servicing aspect. You can help these companies identify ways to control costs better. That's an immediate advantage to the company. But at the same time, you can help employees source good quality coverage, and by being there face-to-face with them, you can answer these questions a lot better than, here, read this, 5, 6, 7-page report on how it works and pick what you want. It's good to deal with somebody who can make the complicated simple, and for those agents that do that, there's always going to be some kind of work for them.
Yep. And I'll say, too, you just made me think, we actually have, and I've been really promoting this, we have a call center here that we can staff up to 10 or 12 people, putting them in the booths here, but we have 2 full-time customer service ladies here that employees and employers can call for questions, or if they want to purchase something, or if they want to make a change in their benefits. So it's not all being done face-to-face. We are doing a good bit of work here where we're staying pretty busy because, in fact, we have those 2 full-time people, but then we'll also bring in for cases because we got customers all over the country. We're doing cases where they'll enroll people in let's just say California, and we'll have a couple people that are out talking to the employees, but then there's some that just can't get to wherever our people are meeting with them, so they'll call into the call center and we'll take them through whatever they need to get done that way. And in fact, our new hires, we do several thousand employees a year of new hires here in the school systems in South Carolina, and we'll send people out to do those as well with the schools. We'll personally send the people out, but then we've got new hires that we're doing for, I think there's a customer in Montana that we have. Well, it's not frequent enough that we can send someone out there, so that Montana employer has their employees for open enrollment. They give them the information and then tell them, okay, call this 800 number, and they will help you go through the process, answering your questions to enroll in your core benefits to get on our benefit program.
Right. So as we round down our conversation today, Jim, the last question I want to ask you today is that if you can picture, some of these people listening to this interview right now are going to be fairly new, if not brand new, to insurance, and they certainly want to be successful and reap the fruits of their productive labor. But as you and I both know, the turnover rate in this business is enormous. Probably 90% or more are not selling insurance after the first year. What advice would you give a newer agent on what they need to do to see the kind of success you've seen in the field and as far as growing your business?
Really, it's pretty simple. Just go at it as if it's going to be your career. Be focused. Try to understand, study, work at it, and look at it as competition, because this is, and that's the beauty to me. Again, I was brought up my dad was a college football coach, and it was all about winning and losing. You know, they had good years, he got promoted or went somewhere else. Bad years, he had a couple of those and he got fired. So, and that's kind of how I see our businesses. You got to learn, study, get up, have a plan, be organized, diligent, disciplined, go out and see people and just try to do the best you can to help those people. And I think that's one of the really important things, is don't look at it as, and I know we all, when we first start, well, I got to be able to pay the bills. But you got to look at it as, okay, I'm doing this and I want to provide the best service I can to the people that I'm calling on so that they are getting a real value. Because in the long run, that's how you build your business. We haven't built our business here because we're out shamming people and making a lot of sales. We've built it because we're helping people, and they appreciate the help, and they like it, and they like the products and programs that we're selling because we've got competitive pricing with companies that do a good job servicing their business as well.
Well, Jim, I want to thank you so much for joining me today on my top producer interview. And we will see you next time. Thank you so much, guys, for listening, and thank you, Jim.
Okay. Thanks, David.